How you doing?
I'm so good, man. I shared it on Facebook. I'm ready. I'm here. You
Well,
got.
we're live. We are so live.
We're not staying up till midnight, though. I'm just saying.
No, no, no. No, sometimes I don't do that, but I've been doing it a bit because, it's I'm I have this vision really that there's so many people here and everywhere, all over the world right now that are asking the big questions like, what the hell is going on? You know,
What the hell is going on? Do you have
and,
the
and
answers? Is this
I
what this
do,
show is all about?
I do. I I don't actually, but it's interesting because I have friends that will call me and they're saying, "Have you heard about the conspiracy stuff?" And I'm like, "Whatever." Yeah, and I mean, so the mind is scrambling to make sense, to make meaning. What does this mean? And so
I
and I've
thought that
heard
was
all
just
kinds
me,
of
honestly. I thought I was the. I don't know. And this is a really important question, and I mean this as very seriously. Are most people experiencing that scrambling of the mind? Because I am certainly being feeling a little bombarded with information all over the
yeah.
place, and
Hmm.
I need to kind of tune out sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yes, because we think there's, our ego or our mind says there's got to be a reason. We live in that level of thinking. We live in cause and effect. We live
Right.
in so our minds. I call our mind the magical meaning making machine, and it's always trying to make meaning of everything. What does this mean? Well, it must be because we have abused the environment, and now we're going to be punished.
Right. I
Right?
understand.
And,
It's
and
that it's kind of that old school way of thinking. It's yeah.
well,
God will punish us.
for you it's old school, but for lots of people who are waking up in the middle of the night and saying, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah.
You know, I had a job. I was making $130,000 a year. I was making $180,000 a year. I don't have a job. I'm not talking about me, but and we have mortgages and we've got a cottage at the lake, and and I'm trying to make like I know what's going on, so my wife doesn't freak out
Right.
because she wants me to take care of these things, or I think I'm supposed to be able to, and so those guys are up at 2 in the morning, or and 1 in the morning, and when I go on live and I say, "Look, you guys, I hear your mind. I hear it. It's so loud. It's screaming. What do I do? Who am I?" Because we lived under the illusion of security. And
Financial security, however people define it in that life. There's a lot of that going on. There's a
yeah,
lot of that going on where people are just paralyzed in fear. They're like, holy shit, pardon my language, but they're like saying, man, like,
it's late night Friday night. You can say whatever you want.
okay, you sure?
Yeah,
I've got a dirty mouth, man. I drop a couple of
I know.
F-bombs.
There's a rumor on the street about that, but that's
Shit.
you know,
No, but people are freaked out.
yeah,
So you go online and you offer an opportunity, a place for people to come in, just
yeah.
maybe not give them the answers, but just to guide them in the place of moving forward. And I know that for you, a big piece of that is, your Project Awakening, your meditation. I saw some of the podcasts that you're already doing, or some of these conversations you're doing with other people, and I really like it. I love the content. I love how you tap into spirituality, like right away. You jump right in there.
Well,
So
there isn't a lot of time to waste for some people. I mean, people are going to start taking their lives. The mind is so crazy that it's going to blame you for
you,
this.
you don't have to tell me, man. You remember this. I work in healthcare, dude. I'm in mental health. So I'm
Yes.
I'm on the other side of the phone right now.
Yeah. So that,
People are like, "Hey, my wife hates me and I'm stuck in my house
yeah,
and I have no job. I have no income coming in. You
yeah,
know, my kids don't know me, blah 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 blah
yeah.
blah."
I have a fellow who's been working on the helpline, suicide helpline,
Yeah, distress center.
and they shut it down.
What?
Yeah, it's shut because they can't come into work. They're going to try to organize it so they can do it remotely, but it's not up yet. So here's a time when we need this.
Yeah.
We need professional listeners. That's what they are. They're not there to guide. They're not there to do, the guidance really, but they're
Yeah.
there to be professional listeners and
Yeah.
and to say, hey, I hear you, and I get it, and because people want to be and need to be heard, and lots of them are in situations where, hey, he's not very happy, or she's not very happy, or parents are living in the house with them, and I mean, there's some some really tough situations. So if I can give them anything, is that the answer is not outside. And I'm not talking religion,
Right.
I'm talking about, I'm not even talking spirituality,
Mm.
because that's a label, I'm talking about, where do we find this peace? Where do we find this space that's deep down and outside of the what we think we are? If I ask you, Julian, tell me who you are.
Right now, today.
Well, you don't have to, but I can tell you that, if you were pushed on it, you might say, well, I'm the guy who leads circles of rhythm.
Right.
Friday nights, I light people up. I'm the circles of rhythms guy. I know you, but you're not.
I know. I
That's
don't
what
like. Yeah, I don't like labels, to be
I
honest.
understand that, but
Yeah.
we do though identify with what we do.
Yeah,
And I'm the health.
that's true.
I work in Alberta healthcare.
Right.
I'm you know
I'm a
and
mental health worker. I'm a
yeah,
father.
yeah.
I'm I'm sometimes I'm a fool, you
No,
know.
no. Well, that's something. But you're a husband.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you're
Father of
still
three.
right.
Yeah, still. She won't kick me out even in this craziness.
Well, no, it's not. It's a tough time to kick anybody out. But you've got a basement. You've got a basement to go to. It's amazing, right?
Yeah, well, it's
I like your basement.
some days are better than others, but you know what? I think it's about fighting through it, and what we were talking about earlier is just, for me, it's a place of radical acceptance. We mentioned that earlier. It's
But can be just a cliche. So what does that look like? I mean, because if I say to some guy, listen, you just got to have radical acceptance, man. And he's like, yeah, but who's going to pay my
wow.
freaking mortgage? Yeah. And so the guidance that I try to give is, how do we get to be here now? I just talked to a guy tonight earlier, friend of mine, he's in Peru. And tomorrow, Canadian government's taking him to Lima, and they're going to get him out of there. There's been a lot of Canadians stuck
So
in Peru.
he's stuck in Peru. That sucks, man.
Yeah, and he's freaking. He's in a motel room in a strange town that he got taken to. And so what could I do for him other than, I said, where are you? He said, well, I'm in a motel room. I said, the TV on? And he said, yeah, but it's Spanish. I don't know what it's saying. I said, so sit on the bed. And I did some breathing with him and brought him into the space. I said, be here, feel your body, take your breaths, just be here right now. Are you safe? Yeah. Right now, are you safe? Yes. Okay. So you hear the noise of the TV. That's okay. Leave it on. You comfortable? Yes. Can you feel your breath? Yes. So, and he started to let everything else go. Everything that was in his head, all his fears, all of his concerns, he had just rambled off for like 25 minutes. When I get back to Calgary, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have a place to stay. I don't have any money. I got to hold up for, 14 days, all of this stuff. It was just crazy in his head. I don't have a job. I thought I was going to be down here all winter. And he dropped it all. He let it all go in like 3 minutes. I said, now, are you in your body? Yes. Can you feel your breath? Can you feel your shoulders? Yes. Just be in this moment. Be here now. And he did. And the practice of that, practice of that is the practice that we all need to have to get into this moment. In this moment, there's no problem. There's no concern. We can't do anything about anything out of this moment, really. And when we learn to live in the moment, what we need to know will be shared with us as we need to know it. right? But ego says, no, 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 no. I've got to run the show. I got to direct everything. I got to, I got to know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows. The government's saying could be 90 days. They don't know anything. They're doing models. They're trying to, so we don't know. But we've been living on the illusion that we did know. And now we've been turned upside down and given a shake. We're like, holy shit, what's happening? Well, what's happening is that we have an opportunity to use this to drop inside, to be here. And if you do it, it becomes a practice. It doesn't have to be like meditation. It can be in the bus. It can be at a red light. It can be when fear comes up, we stop and sit down. When you and your wife, and I'm just using you as an example, okay? When you get on each other, and she's like screaming and saying, who's gonna take care of the groceries next month, whatever, and you can maybe just sit with her for a minute and say, let's breathe just for a minute. Let's just be here right now. And
Yeah.
this practice of being here now. I mean, Eckhart Tolle has made it famous, right? With be here now. And I was with a teacher for many years, Paul Lowe, and Paul had been with Osho for many years, and that's all he said. And I would be like, what do you mean? I am here. But I wasn't. I was in my thinking mind, trying to, it was like always looking. The mind's always looking for danger. The mind's always looking for problems, right? So if we can drop out of it to be here in this moment, then the problems disappear. And if we do it on a regular basis, eventually they kind of give up. They do. They kind of give up. Fear will dissipate and just stop coming around because you're not paying attention to it. You're not feeding it.
It's
right?
true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that. You're not feeding into it. I think the monsters that you feed will continue to come and haunt you.
The story of the wolf, the good wolf, the bad wolf, which one runs the show? The one you feed, and yes, it's exactly that. But if we're not present enough, and this is where the difference between a belief system, which is in the mind, and a practice, which is, it's right here. And it because when you're playing music, I've seen you disappear.
Absolutely.
Yes. And that's your sweet spot. You're like,
absolutely.
Yes. And
I was having, I don't know if I can jump in, but I was having a conversation with my partner yesterday, and like it was an acknowledgement of how I am still struggling very much I'm still very much on the outside, and I've mentioned this to you before, David, that I feel like I'm still learning all of this stuff. But I said to her, I stopped her and I said, the one place where, and she's like, you should know this stuff. You're teaching people to be present here now. You should know this. You should be able to do this. And I'm like, absolutely, I do know this, and I do teach this stuff. But the way I teach it, as I use drumming and I use the community drum circle as an opportunity for people to come together and be present in the moment. And that's what, for me, music is that tool. It's that pathway that allows me to be in the moment, in the here and now. And I said to her, I said, I do this thing, I use this tool as a starting point, a roadmap, if you will, to allow me to extend that into my day-to-day life. I know that I can access that presence. I know that I can access that stillness. I know that I can access that in the momentness, mindfulness there. And then I'm slowly training my brain to be in the moment outside of that context, which is a process.
It's interesting because the brain, the mind, can actually not train the mind. It's a bit of a, it's kind of, we talk about enlightenment or awakening, and the mind can't come with us there. The mind wants to actually manage your awakening and my awakening, and tell us that Yeah. One of the things that the mind says is, well, if we do this for 20 years, we might get it. It's a trick of the mind, because this space that we're talking about, because I know you go there when I've seen you in the middle of a circle and
Totally. And
you're,
I meditate once in a while, but I'm working towards creating a more standard practice where it's like it's regular and you can tap into it right away.
so, um, Trevor Thibodeau, you know Trevor?
Yeah.
So, Trevor Thibodeau does a practice called the Enlightenment Intensive.
Right. I saw
And
that course.
wow, you want to experience the everything else being swept off the table and being here without all of the story. I mean, no story, being here naked, being here empty, being here in the stillness and the silence. That process called the Enlightenment Intensive is like the quickest way to be there. And once you've been there, in a conscious way, you'll say, oh my gosh, I've been here before.
Right. Exactly.
And oh, it's right there. It's right there. I
Right.
didn't see it. Because it seems so mystical, you got to go live in a fucking cave in India and right. And
Totally. I went on this spiritual journey. So many people say that, and I'm like,
yeah,
man, do I need to go on a spiritual journey? Like, I'm gonna be like,
I go to Peru,
me.
man, and I got to do a ton of ayahuasca, and then it's gonna happen to me.
Right.
And and anyway, so, but it's right there. So any person, especially if we've been shook up enough,
Right.
you know, um, in Christian mythology, Jesus said, "Only drowning men can see us,"
Hmm.
and and Leonard Cohen said it in his song as well. But still, only drowning men can see us, and so right now there's a lot of people in that place of, oh my God, what I thought was true is not true. And yes, the government is reaching out to help us all, but a government that can take care of all of our needs can also remove, a lot of our freedoms. Well, not that we've had that many anyway, and it's okay. We really don't need them because it's all an inside job. But so, being pacified by that, and then God bless them. There's no need for it to be like the 30s. My grandparents went through the 30s,
Mm-hmm.
and where they had a depression, and it doesn't have to be like that. There's enough cash management around, enough we can probably get back on our feet. But the truth is, though, that if we, eventually we'll settle into this new norm, and then it'll be, we'll go back into, oh, this is the way it is, and we'll start with a new set of expectations. We'll lick our wounds and count our losses, and we'll be back in the game, and we'll have forgotten that we don't have any security. Security is imagined; it's an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And but now is the time for people to really look at, where is this security? It's only inside of us.
So my question to you, David, is
Yes.
how do we help people not go back to their old ways? Because a lot of people are learning new practices, learning to slow down, learning to stop, and it's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Maybe they're bringing back the family dinners, they're spending more time with their children, they're whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we make sure not to go back to our old ways? Because what we know about the brain is that, like you said, we think we need 20 years to get something, but also your brain says, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm not going to learn anything new. And
Yeah.
it's very easy to fall back, as maybe from an addictions perspective or whatever, a behavioral perspective. It's so easy to fall back into old patterns.
Yes.
My fear is that, and even in terms of the government or in all the systems will say, oh, well, that was crazy. Oh my gosh, we survived. Thank God. Let's
It's
get back to
it's
normal.
desperately difficult, actually, and that's why from the dawn of time we've had teachers
Right.
and teachers like. But now we don't have to go and actually commit to a teacher. And in the old days, we would have to. In the old days, we would go to an ashram, and they'd make us clean toilets and shovel out the stables for about 6 years before we were even qualified to be an aspirant, before we were qualified to even sit with the teacher.
Right.
But today it's online.
Yeah.
If there's a desire, if we're not pacified by entertainment, by Netflix, by, by whatever, if there's a desire, I mean, you can go on Netflix or on YouTube, and some of the best teachers of the last 50 years are there, and they are sharing the way. And it's not like, that people are going to become, nothing changes. They said to the Buddhist monk after he became enlightened, he said, "What did you do before you became enlightened?" And he said, "Well, I chopped wood and carried water." "What did you do after you became enlightened?" He said, "Chopped wood and carried water." So, but it was what changed was that he had this inner connection, and yes, and then fear disappeared, because fear, there's no place for fear, and then uncertainty disappeared, and yes, life might change if we were involved in something that was in a way dishonest. We were in a dishonest relationship, or we were in compromise. That might change, or we just might change, and then things will fall away, but the possibility is to live whole. So I think that the two things can happen. One is that we recognize that however we're living wasn't working,
right?
And that's why I love working with addicts and alcoholics, because they're ready. They're like, holy fuck, I just lost everything.
Exactly.
I've upset everybody in my life. I lost my job. I lost my house. I lost my wife. I lost my kids. That happens. And lots of times it doesn't. They don't have to go that far down the sinkhole.
Yeah.
But they're great to work with because they are desperate.
Right.
They're like, I will do anything. Yes, I'll even turn my will and my life over.
Right.
I recognize that I can't manage my life, and they recognize that how we were living, most of us, is in a world trying to get. So we were out working our ass off so we could get,
right.
And the shift that comes, the conscious, or the complete shift that comes, is we become givers.
Right.
Our whole context in life changes, and I believe already live that way.
I like to live a life of service. Absolutely, for sure.
Yes.
I think almost to a detriment, though, because sometimes I think that's when I say I'm always on the outside, I'm always looking at how I can share a piece of me to others. And then the problem is that I need to turn inwards and feed me and my intimate circle as well. So that's one of my lessons. I kind of like this parallel about the addict, how they've lost everything and they're ready. Like I do a lot of screening for people who are, looking to make some changes with their whatever substance addictions and things like that. And those are the best people, Do you see a parallel maybe in terms of, what's happening right now in terms of like, hey, like, holy shit, I'm losing everything. We've lost everything. We've got no more connection with people. It's time to make a change. It's time for us to shift.
Of course, this is an opportune time for that. There's no question. And, a lot of people were kind of have been living in what I call kind of a low level fear anyway, kind of an underlying, feeling of kind of impending doom, or the things are, they're not, lots of folks have been living that way. And
on that line for sure.
And this shakes things up, and they're like, holy shit, what's going on? And we've done things in our life because we wanted to please other people. We were concerned about how we looked. It was all very much an outside job. And we come home and we have an image or a persona that we've been playing, or that's been playing us. And we come home and we're at night, we're in bed by ourselves, or even in bed laying beside our love, or our partner, and feeling very alone. Feeling, lonely and kind of desperate, and like, is this my life? And I've had that. I've lived that. I talk to people, who have been there, and they, lots of times they drank, and that's how, the beautiful thing about spirits that come in a bottle is that they would lift us up, but it didn't last. Eventually it turned on us, and when we were going there for our spiritual hit,
Yeah.
that's why they call it spirits.
Yeah.
Because we were going there for a spiritual hit, and eventually it was like, oh, this isn't working. As a matter of fact, this is killing me, you
Right.
know, and so we go to porn and sex and food and gambling and work and all of those things to avoid the moment, because in the moment we have to look at this, and but the truth is, if we can really learn to let go of everything and be with this, it's beautiful. That's
Right.
where the bliss is, and that's what I'm hoping that we get to share. And I see you doing it, whether you know it or not. I see you on Friday nights with how many people come? 70, 80?
Oh man, over 100 mostly. Most every week, almost 100 and some every week, every
So,
Friday. And
so for those that you don't know, Julian and your partner is in
Danielle.
Danielle. No, but don't you have a
Oh,
partner
in the drumming. Oh,
Yes.
we have a bunch, but we do it with John Pocock, Jamie Gore, Judy Atkinson was the founder, and then we've
Yes.
got lots of
So
facilitators. We're training a
they
bunch.
have, it's a drumming church on Friday nights.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun. And I think what I just actually finished doing a little live stream on our Facebook, and people miss it. It's like a church, it's like
Oh,
their
yes.
spiritual hit, right?
It's community. It is like a church, and we
Yeah.
get to go there, and it doesn't matter whether they're 16 or 66, and so it's a beautiful, it crosses all the social economic barriers, and they come to drum, and they get lost in the music, and it's the same with ecstatic dance. Kylie Dawn does, with her ecstatic dance, people get, they get high in a way,
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
on-
Absolutely.
in
It's
the
a
music.
natural high.
Yes, it's a beautiful high, and it's that connection. They're there, you
Yeah.
know, and you and I both know we've gone to dance before where you're kind of a little self-conscious, but after a while that drops away, right?
Yeah.
And there's nobody else in the room. You're just
Right.
you're in, the dance took you, and it's
Well, and that's the goal. I think that's when you speak of this whole, being present in the moment, going within, tuning out the ego, maybe even just tuning out whatever that inner dialogue. I think, ecstatic dance, breath work, meditation, if you can do that, but drumming for me, music, it's kind of almost, those are kind of these gifts that have been given to us, these
yes.
talents that have been given to us as like super highways, instead of, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I've never done ayahuasca, but I can imagine maybe that's what it's like a channel to get you to the place that you're looking to get,
It,
if you're
it
looking.
it there's no question that all of those things, we can get lost in them, and the whole story falls away. We're no longer Julian the drum guy. You're no longer,
Right.
you're in the moment.
Right.
And why do you think people love, triple black diamond runs on the ski hill? They have
Exactly.
to be super present.
Exactly.
Jump out of
Nothing
an
else matters.
jump out of an airplane. You got to be there. You know.
Let me just check my phone here while whoa.
Yeah. Right, these things, the high intensity sports and
Yeah.
race car driving, and me on my motorcycle,
Yeah.
at 140 kilometers an hour, well, I don't do that so much anymore, but on the mountain roads, you got to be there, and that's the communion, but the beautiful thing is that that can happen. We can be there all the time.
Exactly. And my question, I guess my question, or if you could tell somebody in just a couple
Look at
sentences,
you, you're interviewing me.
because I want to know. I'm like, I want to know if you could tell somebody in a couple seconds,
Yes.
a couple sentences, how do you, without the drugs, without the music, without the jumping out of an airplane, with, those things that get you into that place of mindfulness, or to be
Yes.
completely present, of presence. You know, in 2 sentences, what does it take for somebody to kind of to tap in, to slow down, to access that part of themselves, if they've never, if they, well, right now, many of us don't have those resources, right? We're in
So,
isolation.
I don't know if I can do it in 2 sentences, but I can tell you that, first of all, knowing that that space is available
Right.
is a key piece. Ego will probably say bullshit, and it can for some of us, but so knowing that that space is available is a key piece. There's a big question that hardly ever gets asked, but the question is, who are you?
Hmm.
Who are you?
That was part of that that the journey that you were talking about with, what was
Yeah,
his
with
name?
Trevor.
Trevor. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a question that can be asked all the time. I mean, it
Yeah.
can be
Who
a
are you?
never-ending question. It can be a looking in the mirror question. Who am I? And then the answers start to come. Well, am I? And we can go through a really short process of dropping all the things we think we are.
Mm.
And we can pick them up again. You know, but just for a moment, we just let go of even being a man, even being a woman, even being a son or a father, all of the identities, all of the, you know, and we can start to let go of, whether we're Canadian or not, or whether we're Christian, or whether we're a Muslim, whether we're anything in our beliefs. We just start to let them go for a moment. And as we drop into that nothingness from this exercise, something else is there, you know. And there's a beautiful book by Dr. David Hawkins called Letting Go. And it shows the process of letting go on the emotional side, when we're in anger, with fear, pride, and grief, and apathy, and we can just begin to let go. And as we let these things go, we float up. We're naturally like a cork in the ocean, and we float up into courage and acceptance and joy and unconditional love. We literally, that's our natural state.
Nice.
And so we can be there, and we can begin to surround ourselves with people who are on that path. And there's people around, and it doesn't have to, we don't have to become part of a religious belief system.
No.
You don't have to join a cult.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that state of unconditional love, or just love consciousness, maybe, is pretty incredible.
Well, and it's not a feeling.
No, it's like an over encompassing mindset, heart. It's a posture.
Well, it's
Maybe.
beyond the mind.
Yeah, it's a posture. It's like it's from the inside out.
So everything is inside of that.
Yeah,
It is the essence of everything.
yeah. It's like it's all over, man.
Yes. So the essence of everything is that love, that
Yeah.
that that emptiness, that oneness. And you
So
can
you
feel
said, number one, acknowledge that this space is available. Number two, ask the question, who am I?
well, maybe a million times.
Yeah.
You know, for years before I knew it was who am I, my prayer was, show me who I am.
Mm.
That was like, I used to pray that. I used to say, show me who I am. Show me, where am I in this thing? What is this big, and I was a bit clumsy. I'm not really a, any kind of a I'm not all that well read. I haven't studied all the teachings. I haven't gone to be with the gurus. I've had some beautiful teachers, but I've been very fortunate that actually the 12 steps
Yeah.
in the recovery program, that I sobered up when I was 25. So it's
Yeah.
almost 40 years ago when I
Wow.
started this journey, and I've gone to India, and I've been with the Dalai Lama, and I've done a whole bunch of things looking for this oneness that we just talked about, and thinking it was something mystical outside of me, or that I had to earn it in some way. that I had to be good enough for it. And that I had to get enough knowledge to get it in here.
There's that old school thinking again.
Yes, and this little Irish guy back in the 80s when I first sobered up said to me, if you're going to understand God in that pea brain, he's not going to be much of a God. And I was
Right.
like, oh,
Absolutely.
so understanding is a trap.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
trying to explain it is even more of a trap.
Yeah. So we can talk about what it's not, but we really can't talk about what it is.
Because we have no idea.
No,
It's infinite. It's infinite. There's
Yeah.
no explaining it.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of it. And there's that like letting go. There's that radical acceptance of like, I'm okay not knowing all of the things. I don't need to know all the things. What I do need to know is how can I be more open to receiving whatever presents itself in my life.
Well, and so I'll have to say that in my case, I think maybe I'm a little slow sometimes. It's taken me, I've had to really kind of, I don't know, I had to lose everything. Last year, I lost my business and everything. I really had to finally surrender, because my conditioning was so strong that I had to be financially successful. It was, and I couldn't separate, or I didn't, and a lot of my journey over the years was I wanted to be kind of spiritually awakened so that I could be better in relationship, or be better in business, or I wanted it to, because I wanted to get something as a result of it. And maybe that was the
part
thing
of your equation. So if I put this and spiritual awakening, I'm going to get this as a result.
Yes. And it's quite likely that my imagining of what I was going to get stood in the road of me having this amazing experience that I have now. And because I was waiting, I was still, not ready to surrender everything.
And so one by one, things were taken away because David was still looking, but he still couldn't see it. That's hard, man. That's rough.
Oh, hard. I lived in the store last year, and I was there for, a year or better. And there was lots of nights, and I'm laying in there and I'm thinking, what am I doing? So I laugh at my stubbornness, that ego's very, very tricky and stubborn, but I'm grateful. I could, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. And once it starts, it's kind of like it really last fall when I went with Trevor and we did the enlightenment intensive, and it came in, or I became aware, and I realized, and then it's just been growing, and this last month or two, my friend Adrian Bowley, who I was telling you about, was in India with Muji. And have you heard of Muji?
Not familiar, no.
Mooji. Muji's this teacher, and he's really amazing, because in a way he's not teaching anything. He's just talking about what we're talking about. He's pointing people towards this opening, towards this surrender, towards this letting go of everything. And he was doing satsang in India, and Adrian was there with him in this huge hall in Rishikesh, and they aired it live the whole time. Every morning he was there, like 5 days of the week, doing satsang, and I watched every one of them, and I had like more than a bird's eye view, because it was all, I wasn't sitting with 700 people. I was right I had front row, because I was
tickets.
I did, and free, and I didn't have to go to Rishikesh.
Awesome. That's really cool.
But this guy has got it. He really has. And he might not be for everybody. Maybe it was just the guy I needed at the time. But wow, when people would have this experience, and I would weep, because it's such a beautiful, it's just such a beautiful experience to awaken to our love, to awaken to ourself. The essence of ourselves is, what more could we ask for?
So stripping away whatever's standing in the way of life. Sometimes we'll strip it away for us.
Yes.
And I like that. Awakening to your love. Awakening to your love.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to describe, just to know though that it's there, that you can have it. And it's a 16th of an inch.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, when it happens, it will be with an
Yeah.
which,
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
way, is the what we hear, that there's a sound that people hear when they die. Oh,
It's like,
oh,
I
it's like
found it.
slipping out of a tight shoe.
It's like that 16th of an inch finally got nudged away, and it's
Ah, uh, it's just like, oh my gosh.
yeah.
But we're so conditioned to be in this world, so we still stay in the world.
Yeah.
There's nothing's changed. I except that I have, for me, I realized that most of my life I've resisted doing this. I I have, tried a lot of other ways to give back, but I didn't want to come out. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not really qualified. I mean, I often, ego tells me the same thing. Who are you to be saying these things? And
Right.
yet, and I look at it and kind of smile at it, because it's like, there's another being in there that every once in a while pokes his head in and says, "Hey, you tired of this stuff yet? Let me run the show again." Ego.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but so yeah, my life has really changed, and I've let go of in the 12-step program. Can I share something with you?
Absolutely, for sure. I'm
Okay, the
familiar
12-step
with the
program.
12 steps, but yeah,
Uh,
I'm familiar with it. But I think it's always good to go back, and I can pull the similarities in terms of what you're saying, and part of that.
so in the 12-step program, there's a paragraph before the third step, and it says, because we're doing concepts of God, because you know, uh, my little kind of brain needs a concept, needs something that can say, okay, I get this, and it kind of keeps me on track, it says, this paragraph says, when we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. So the position was a position of surrender.
Yeah.
All sorts of remarkable things followed. We had a new employer. Oh, and that's, I just like, are you kidding? Fuck, I sure need a new employer. And you know, I really screwed up my last job, and I mean that with all humor. So we had a new employer being all powerful, and he provided what we needed if we stayed close to him, performed his work well.
Mm.
So for me, staying close is prayer and meditation. I have a practice, and again, it's not to get anything. It's just to stay close and to and keep the connection. So it's prayer and meditation. That's how I stay close. And performing his work well is to helping other people, to doing
Mhm.
carrying a message, and
Absolutely.
in a time like this when so many people are saying, what do I do? Who am I? What's happening? And you must be seeing it in the mental health side. You know,
Mhm.
so there's lots of people. So performers work well. Established on such a footing, that's the footing of surrender and having a new employer. These are the promises in the third step. Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. More and more we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. As we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, we became conscious of his presence. We began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, and hereafter.
Hmm.
We were reborn. It's a beautiful paragraph, isn't it? It's like, you're kidding.
And I love that those are the promises, and they're accessible.
Well, those are the third step promises. Before we leave, I want to read the 9-step promises. Can I?
Sure. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Come on.
So these
This
are,
is good stuff. I think a lot of people don't necessarily know how much beauty there is in the 12-step program. You know Russell, is it Russell Brand, the guy
Yeah.
that pretty
Oh
much,
yeah, it's Russell. Yeah. I listen to Russell all the time. Like I feel like Russell and I are friends. You know, we're not, we've not actually met, but he's sharing life according to the 12-step program. But now,
exactly, his path to enlightenment essentially is a parallel to the 12-step program. And
yes. So
it's a
this is after we've done, steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and halfway through 9, these are the promises. And this talking about 9th step, which we're making amends to,
right.
we're cleaning up the wreckage of the past and we're making amends. And it says, if we are painstaking means pretty detailed. If we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we're halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will be interested in we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We'll suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Those are the promises. It says, are these extravagant promises? We think not. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. They're beautiful. It's just like,
That's the recipe. That's what
yeah,
everyone's looking for.
yes, yeah. And I'm not, I used to be kind of self-conscious to say God, and in public but it's a concept. God either is or he isn't everything. He's either everything or he's nothing. This is all God. This is all love. And sometimes when people come to the 12-step world and they have trouble with that word, and we use often in the 12-step world, we use higher
Higher
power.
power, yeah.
Yes. And I say to them do you believe in love? And everybody, the roughest, toughest,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe
Of
in love.
course I do.
Love my dog. Yeah. And and I say, well, do you think that love is a power greater than you? And it almost always the lights go on. They go, oh, you bugger, you tricked me.
Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't trick you. Is love a power greater than you or not? And they'll always say yes. So God is love, and it's just, it connects the dots for so many people. They're like, oh my gosh, okay, I see that. So because a lot of us had an adolescent idea about God, we had a Sunday school idea that we had been pushed on us, or
Exactly.
in catechism or wherever the hell you went,
Yeah.
or in the Jewish faith or wherever, and which they rebelled at and said that's I don't believe, or they became agnostic, or even
Or if this is God, I'm out.
yeah, and but and so there's a much bigger picture, and yet
Absolutely.
even with that, I love the concept of God the employer, which is
Right.
a very small concept. It's like, oh,
It
and
reminds me of one of the stories. You're probably very familiar with it, but it's I think it's in the big book. Talks about the director and how you know when you're in your ego, you think that you're the director to your own life. You're kind of calling the shots. You got the lights, the camera, and everything. And then when you kind of surrender to a power
Mhm,
greater than yourself, you're no
mhm,
longer the director. You've got a new employer, you've got a new
mhm.
director. Same kind of parallel for me. And I
Well,
really like that. It's like, I'm not in charge. I'm not the director. I am simply a person who can be of service within the set. And I think that for me is a really encouraging way to live my life, is to say, I'm not in control. I'm not the director. I'm not the boss. I'm not the employer. Someone else is employing me. And all I have to do is to try to give the most excellence that I can in whatever situation that I'm faced with.
Well,
Grant you that I'm not successful in all of those endeavors, but when I actually give myself the permission to be present and mindful and not think and be distracted about a million things, and I actually do the one task that I'm called to do, absolutely I can achieve excellence. And that's as close as I can get to unconditional love to myself and to
well,
others.
well, it is from that level, but you can drop even further past that,
Okay,
because
let's
that's
go there.
uh
Let's go there.
well, we have been, and we did earlier,
Yeah,
the mind comes up and says, yeah, but this is what you have to do. You have to live a certain way, or you have to, so we're coming from a moral psychology or moral philosophy
right.
of life, and the giving back. But if we really believe that we're like a cork, and as we let go of everything, we actually rise up into unconditional love, from unconditional love, which is kind of like a Mother Teresa thing, but still from unconditional love, there's no question about service. From
Right.
that relationship with, when we've actually become one with, consciously one with our employer, one with, the with God the Father, if you will, or however we want to conceive it, as we become living in that space of oneness, which we can drop into in a second, if we choose to, if we ask, we can drop in with our breath, and when we're there, from that space, we're always going to be in service. Nobody drops really deep and comes up with complaint.
That was awful.
They don't come back and say, damn, this world is not behaving. We come back with bliss, or we come back
Yeah.
with gratitude. We come back with, oh my gosh, we see how, how a part of the immensity we are, a speck, if you will, but still we're more than that, because we are that.
We're part of it. It's all interconnected. There's that movement again.
Yeah, because
It's all one.
we are that. Yes,
We're part of that greater plan. We're part of that love. We're part of that. Yeah.
So there's, in the ocean, we see the wave, and we think of the wave as separate from the ocean,
Right.
but the wave is not separate from the ocean any more than you're separate from the one.
You. Yeah.
So
All of us.
the ocean is a great analogy for, because a drop of water is a drop of water. When it hits the ocean, boom,
It becomes the ocean.
it
Yeah.
becomes the ocean. And so that's,
And hang on. Can we stick with that?
yes,
So the drop of water is the drop of water. And this is maybe what's happening right now for people who are kind of not necessarily allowing themselves to tap into that, heart consciousness or oneness, this consciousness of we're part of this bigger thing. And through meditation or like a spiritual practice. I know you don't like to say that, but through,
well, no, I that's fine. Yeah.
okay, so through just an active participation in your ability to consciously access that sense of oneness. So that's the work, and you're falling. And then the moment you kind of, drop into the ocean, you have access to all of that. You feel all of that. And I've had moments in my life that, those are the moments that I hang on to,
Which you,
where
of course, you can't hang on to.
but
Yeah.
I mean, like I hang on to that thought. It's like an opportunity for me to go back to that. I've experienced that love consciousness.
Yes, of course you have. Yeah.
In my heart, in my whole being, where
Yes.
I've been like, wow, this is crazy. This is not me. This is not you, but it is you and it is me, and we're not separate, and we're all together. And like, it's like, whoa, what is going on? So I come back to those moments, because you can't live in that all the time. Well, or maybe you can.
Yes.
I haven't learned yet how to experience that all the time. And so I draw back to that thought, that awareness, that experience, to remind me that, yes, though I may feel like I am a drop of water and isolated, I can access, or in the right context, or with the right tools, or dropped in the right position, or if I posture myself in the right way, I can access all of this. I don't know.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
yes, absolutely. That's exactly what we're talking about.
I love it.
Yes, and it's just letting go, surrendering, recognizing that we're not this, that we're not all of the things we think we are, and that we are actually what you said. We are the ocean. Infinite we are infinite intelligence.
Yeah.
We are all of the energies of the world that have gone into making you, cellularly even. They don't die.
Mm-hmm.
They move on to other beings or mother. It's always transitioning.
Recycled. Yeah, it's all yeah. I think it's also important to recognize though that we are who we are too. Like I think it's almost like you need to like put that thought, I know I like how you said, when you ask that question of who am I, you're kind of like
Yes.
separating yourself and you're taking off layers. But instead of just dropping them, I think it's for me, the metaphor would be to put them on the shelf. So I'm a father, I'm a mental health worker, I'm a drummer, I separate them and I can just put them on the shelf and I see them from a distance, but what's left?
So, but the I am is not, um, you do drumming. You're not,
Yeah.
I am a
Yeah.
drummer, and uh, we're not even our bodies really.
No.
I am a
The
body.
body is a vessel.
Yes. And so we're not, I am only the I am we are is this moment, this essence of this moment is the only I am we are. Everything else is an expression in the past or the future,
Right.
you're drumming is something you do,
Right.
and now when you are drumming
Then
and
that's
become one with the drums,
yeah.
you're, you am then.
Right. You am a drummer in that moment. I
Yeah,
am. Yeah. No, I think so the I am is essentially it's like
it's always
it's
now.
it's attached to your breath. With every breath in, and even not even attached to the breath because it's infinite, right? Once the breath leaves,
But the breath can bring us into that,
yeah, exactly.
in a way, the
Yeah.
breath can.
Well, I mean, that's the best way because it's there's nothing else happening right now other than your breath in the moment. That's really beautiful. That's a really helpful tool. So Judy Atkinson, the founder of Circles Rhythm. Just today, I called her and left her a voicemail. It's ringing, ring, 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 and it goes to her voicemail. And she says, "Hey, you've reached Judy Atkinson, and leave me a message. I'll call you right back. In the meantime, take a deep breath." And have a peaceful day. And she
Beautiful.
hangs up. And I'm like, I love your message because I needed to take a breath. I needed to slow the fuck down. And every time she says that, take a deep breath, I breathe.
Do you know, speaking of breath for a second, I've been really, Russell Brand the other day had Wim Hof on his show.
Mm-hmm.
And Wim Hof's the Iceman, the breath man. Do you know who I mean?
Yeah.
And he's totally crazy and totally lovable. I mean, he's like, oh my gosh, he's so out there. There's no question that Wim Hof does not give a shit what you think about him in any way, shape, or form. So,
He's like the honey badger.
oh, what's a honey badger do?
You don't know this honey badger don't give a shit?
No.
You can Google it after. Just
Okay.
do a Google.
But so he took us through the breathing, and Russell had him on because a lot of what the breath work that he does can really stimulate the immune system.
Right.
And of course he's a big proponent of cold showers, and I've been doing cold showers for years. I love cold showers, and it gets pretty cold here in Alberta. And I'm talking about, I have a shower, the last 60 to 90 seconds is flat out cold. And a couple of things happen. It brings you into the moment. It's
Absolutely.
like, oh, It really doesn't, but it's super good for the immune system. The body just goes, it's very good for the immune system. And yeah, I love Russell. He's great. Muji is great. Eckhart Tolle did a piece the other day. I'll send it to you. He just, he's standing in his kitchen and he did a half-hour piece. And I'm sure he just held his phone. And wow, he took us right to this moment. He just did everything that we've talked about. He, talked about the mind and how the mind is, it's a beautiful tool, but it was never meant to run the show. And it just,
Mhm.
and he talked about Shakespeare.
Mm.
Shakespeare said nothing is bad or good, except the mind makes it so. So I might have not got the quote exactly right, but basically things are just things until we decide if it's right or wrong or bad or good.
Right.
It's our perspective, it's our judgment that says this is bad or good or right or wrong. And every one of us can look back on some calamity in our past and say, fuck, am I ever glad that happened?
Right.
But at the time we were like, oh, the world is out to get me.
Yeah, exactly. I
you
think a
know,
lot of people might be
so
experiencing that now.
which proves that we don't know anything.
Yeah.
We just don't know. Um, we just don't know.
Yeah.
And but our mind is screaming to understand or to make up. I call it, like I said, the magical meaning making machine. And and if we're depending on where we are on the vibrational scale, if we want to play victim, so those are the things that we're looking to see so that we can let them go.
Yeah.
So know thyself, which I think was um, Aristotle or Plato, I'm not sure, but know thyself was it, you know, um, is an important thing. And that's why sometimes spending time with Eckhart Tolle's writings and Dr. David Hawkins' writings, I mean, there's so many greats, from years ago, the Bhagavad Gita, which is an amazing piece by Stephen Mitchell did a translation of it I love and I've listened to many, 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 many times. And, the autobiography of the yogi, there's some just great pieces that can bring us into more familiar with this space. And so that when we drop into that space, it's not scary. It's not like, oh my gosh, what's happening? The world is falling away, I'm at peace. And maybe that can be scary because we're so used to being stressed.
Mm-hmm.
You're so used to, solving the problems of the world or listening to the news. And who else did I say? Alan Watts. I love Alan Watts. Go find him on YouTube. And have you listened to him before?
I don't think so. No. Maybe
You,
I'm really bad with names. I'm surprised I even remember my own name. It's good that it says my name in the bottom of the screen there.
you will. Yeah, I see that. You will love Alan Watts.
Will I?
Yeah, he's been gone quite a while, but he was so yes, Alan Watts, Ram Dass as well. I'm a big fan of Ram Dass.
Right. Yeah.
And took me a while, but I guess I think a lot of things shifted last year when I really realized at another level that I didn't know.
Right.
That I
And this
just
goes back to that whole thought of you saying, my question to you was, how do we make sure that we don't go back to the way things were? And you said, now we have just this plethora of teachers, and you
yes,
just named 10, in the last 5 minutes, not even, people, good teachers that are accessible out there. So and that to me, like, is really encouraging. You know what I mean? Like, I'm literally jazzed about how people, my kids, myself, everyone around me has access to all this information, this wisdom, and these perspectives. And here's the beauty about it, is that maybe some person might not resonate with the word God or the way you and I describe God, but maybe they'll hear somebody else describe it in a different way, and then all of a sudden that's all it takes, right?
but I think that we have to recognize that it's hard. We got to call it something.
Exactly.
And God is a very simple name for for something that we can't really describe.
Super complicated. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we don't know what else to say. In the Jewish faith, they can't call it anything.
Mm,
It's the name that can't be spoken. And
mm.
you know, there's, yeah. So we're not talking about religion where we're talking about a God that's in a doctrine and
Mhm.
that has a set of rules. We're talking about a different situation, a different
It's
possibility.
the thing that connects all things.
Yes,
It's the bridge between all
yes,
spiritualities and all.
yes.
It's the
And
source.
love, of course, is the exactly, it is love.
Yeah,
And,
it's
and
the
you know,
manifestation of that source.
and love is the grease that makes it all go round.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unconditional love, like
Yes.
loving without wanting anything in return.
Yeah. And we often in resistance, instead of life on life's terms, we're, you know, ego says, no, 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 no. No, no, we want it this way. We want it that way. And so if we're in resistance, we're in pain.
Mm,
When we're in pain, we have sickness, we have dis-ease because we're in dis-ease, we're in pain, we're in resistance. So we can surrender, say, okay, I get it, you know. And sometimes we have to really get beat up to surrender, and
yeah.
that's my story. Is you know, even though many years on a spiritual path, I still took a long time to just totally get it, you know, to totally. And I suspect there's more.
Yeah.
You know, I'm open to the possibility, many, you know, that this is, you know, a continued journey, that there's, you know, there's so much more.
Absolutely.
But I can't tell you about that because I don't know. My friend,
It's good.
what? Are we almost done?
It's late. I want to throw one thing out there. If people are looking for an accessible way to kind of use their breath, this is something new. Hang on, that I've been doing, and I think everybody should get one. Is a flute.
Oh yeah,
They're and like so you know like
that's beautiful flute. Yeah,
well it's
I
really
know that.
nice. This one's
Mm-hmm.
really nice too. But you don't need a nice one. But the thing about it is that you know we're talking about breath,
Mm-hmm.
and so for a long time drumming, you know, you've mentioned that I do the lots of the drumming, and that gets me in that mind frame. But this is kind of like the evolution of that because it's now attached to that breath, you know, and it's like that's a mindfulness tool. So it's been really helpful for me. And so if anyone out there wants another tool, maybe if they like the drumming and they want to evolve,
So Julian, you can't have that out without giving us a little demonstration.
all right, check this. I'll play this one. So this is one by High Spirit Flutes. It's a double condor D. It's really nice. So there's one side and then both sides.
Beautiful.
Oh man, it's so fun. Like,
Wow.
and I make mistakes on it all the time, and I don't even care. Anyways, thanks for having me on the show.
It was beautiful. You're just beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for all you do for community and for, you know, for the people that are in your life and the example that you set. I just want to say a couple of quick things before we go. If anybody's listened tonight and has a, you know, a burning question or just, you know, that wants to talk, you wake up in the morning and you're not certain what to do, or you're thinking crazy thoughts or whatever, there isn't anything that you can't call me about. And so just, uh, we're here to support each other, to love each other, and to, we're in this together. And so please get in touch with me, through Facebook, or my number's on my Facebook page. You can look it up and text me, and we'll talk on the phone. Or what? Yeah. And Monday evening, I do a group. We have a meditation group online, Meditation Mondays. I've been doing it for a year and a half or so now, so we're on this channel, but just on the Facebook. I do it like Facebook Live, so you're welcome to join us on Monday evening. I'd love that if you come in. It's about an hour and a half, and we meditate and we talk and we do a couple of things, so that's possible Monday night. And that's it. So going to do a bunch of these. People just are showing up. People are actually getting in touch with me and saying, "Hey, David, I love your show. Can I be on it with you? I want to, share my message too." So I expect to do. I've got nothing for tomorrow, which is okay. But then Sunday morning, Ann Lawsing, who's in Guatemala, a friend of mine who's been down there for years and years and has run a clinic for a local village called El Remate. Ann's going to be on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. And we've got a buddy in New York, Alan Seinfeld. And Alan and I go back for many, many years, to the 90s. We met in Bali in 94, the Paul Lowe group, first one I ever did. And Alan and I are going to chat on Monday. And I'm sure that, we'll do a couple of these every day next week. And the idea is to lift people up, So Julien, thank you. Love you. And thanks for sharing this on your page as well. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. Yeah. It's Circles of Rhythm, and rhythm is hard to spell. It's RHYTHM, Circles of Rhythm. Just find us on YouTube, or you can just find our link tree. Do you ever see this link tree? It's a great way to have all of your different links. So your website, your Instagram, your Facebook, because there's too many things. So if you just go to Linktree/Circles of Rhythm, you can find all of our stuff there. And
you text me that.
Yeah.
And text me that, and we'll put that on this broadcast for people. So love you. Call me anytime, but I'm always here for you.
I still need a meditation stool, so we'll talk about that later. Free delivery.
Free delivery. Where are you?
I'm in Lakeview.
Oh, so easy. I'd love to come and visit.
Yeah, totally. Not from a physical distance.
Physical distancing, yeah, of course. I can't wait till it warms up, because I can at least have my sponsees over on the back deck.
Right.
We can sit on the deck and do our 12-step work and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
That's as long as we pay attention to physical distance. I'm serious about, not contributing to the to the problem.
I think at this point it's you just have to do your part.
There's no denying the practical. And
the
practical is that we're all playing a part in this, and it's just, so let's make a difference. And I was actually down at the Sheldon Schumer the other day. I take a friend in because he had an impacted tooth. And
that's where I work every day.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was down in Emerge, and I was thanking the nurses and because there's a level of stress.
Absolutely.
It's happening in the medical world right now. I gotta, if I had a hat, you have a hat, I'd tip my hat to all those people that are, that are out doing. You got a great head of hair too. Oh my gosh. And the truck drivers in the grocery store. I went to the grocery store and I thanked the lady at the grocery store the other day. And
totally, those guys are in the front lines, man.
She blushed. Honestly, she was, because I just, obviously she's very humble and didn't, she's just doing her job,
Yeah,
But I said, well, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. And
totally.
it was, yeah,
I think those are the small things that we can do every day to
yeah,
be part of that love consciousness,
yeah,
to giving back, letting people know when they make a difference all the time. Doesn't
yeah,
matter if you know them or not. My kids are the best. We walk around, they see a lady walk and she's got pink hair. And then my youngest one said, "Excuse me, I love your hair," and I'm like, darn rights, man, her hair is freaking awesome. Tell those people, or I love your dress, and like, why aren't we doing that all the time? Giving people just observations in terms of how we see them, how
yeah,
they are making an impact. Anyways,
yeah. Love is an action word.
absolutely.
Love you.
Take care, brother.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.